Peace, love, Goldn.Light. Today is Thursday, and it's time that I share with you what I've been writing in my journal, specifically to the Prompt for the Write It Down series, which was, how do you feel about misunderstandings, and how does it feel to be misunderstood? So let's talk about it. Let's get into my journal. You know what you gotta do now. Grab a pen, we about to write it down. You know what you gotta do now. Grab a pen, write it down. I actually have two journals that I'm gonna kind of bounce in between, because before I was able to write more to this prompt, there were some things that I was already writing earlier this week about misunderstanding. So I'm gonna kind of jump in between. I did tackle both questions. How do you feel about misunderstandings? And then how does it feel to be misunderstood? So rock with me and flow with me, okay? So I wrote down some words that came to mind when I think about misunderstandings: conflict, tension, confusion, my need, or what happens where I'm over explaining, and then I'm needing a mental exit. With misunderstandings, if it's communication is big to me, so misunderstandings are just like and I need somewhere else to exit in my mind so that I can find more peace, right? So within building relationships, whether it's friendships or even if it's not a new relationship, but relationships that you already have with all different types of people, I want to talk about my view of what happens with myself when these relationships have misunderstandings, because it's going to happen, right? And I feel like a good way that I look at it is that we can learn something. I can learn something from misunderstandings, right? So I said I like to talk things out. Sometimes it doesn't happen right away, but I love understandings. I love being able to understand someone else, and I want someone else to understand me, right? So things don't repeat themselves. I feel like when hiccups happen, when kind of you go through some stuff, when you're able to kind of dig through the misunderstanding, is something that you can learn, so going forward you can kind of handle a little bit better. So it's always something to learn. So in doing this, it's like I'm going inward and someone else is going inward, but we're going in together. We're going within together, right? And when doing this, you have to have some level of compassion, right? I'm explaining my side, I want you to explain your side, and then if we can pinpoint where this miscommunication or where this misunderstanding happens, because I feel like misunderstandings come from miscommunication. It comes from two different perspectives that collide, and sometimes taking a step back to hear someone else out, even though you may not agree or get all of it, you're able to just hear that person out from where they're coming from. So understanding their space, their perspective, right? So that's what I try to pinpoint in situations when there are misunderstandings. Initially, it feels like conflict. Initially, it feels like confusion. It's annoying. It's irritating, but I can never settle with a misunderstanding for the most part, especially in relationships that I'm really trying to grow and build. It's like, okay, how come you didn't get me, or I didn't get you? Let's talk about it, right? I'm big on communication. So attributes that I wrote down that I would want to master or at least have when something is being misunderstood is patience, compassion, honesty, love, and a non-judgmental mentality, right? I notice in my safe spaces with different people is that we're not really judging each other. You know what I'm saying? And when you remove this judgmental factor, you can really get a better understanding on where somebody's coming from before you start pointing a finger at them, before you start blaming them, before you try to tell them what they're doing wrong. Just really listening. So I think listening too, now that I'm thinking about it, is also something that's really good. Now, misunderstandings, when I basically show up to the world, is a little bit different on how I would take it, because sometimes when I present myself and I'm misunderstood, I'm not always trying to dig deep with all of society to say, hey, understand me. But that wasn't always the case, and I'm gonna get into that. So now going to the second part of the question is, how does it feel to be misunderstood? I have to travel a little bit back. I have to travel back to childhood, right? So in another entry, I was writing about aspects of myself that I love, and I find myself writing also into the area of where I felt when I was younger and always being misunderstood. Like that was a big thing. Like, okay, let me tell you about it. So I wrote, I love my mind. I love the way that I think. Think to create, think to understand, think to solve problems. And it's crazy how I love this aspect of myself, but have been the most fearful to share this part of myself growing up. I wrote I think first, and then I scratched it. I was like, I know it stemmed from being misunderstood. So when I was younger, it was like, the way that I thought and saw things is like, I was always kind of fearful of expressing that, because in moments that I did, it was like, kind of get in the side eye, and it kind of really messed me up as a child. It's just like, you know, I stopped voicing myself so much. I started to question my own thoughts, and I really lost my voice at different points of my life because the fear of being misunderstood, right? So misunderstandings triggered this insecurity for me that was like, you're an outcast, you're on the outside. And it was weird because a part of me is like, I told you guys before in another video, I don't really like to go with crowds, you know what I'm saying? But also being shy, low self-esteem, and things like that, I don't immediately want to be pointed out as the outcast. So I was in this weird, like, little limbo type of phrase. So where it's like, I didn't really want to speak up all the time and show you, hey, I may say something that's a little off, because I didn't want you guys to point out and say like, she's different. But I felt like I was different. I felt like I was on the outside. And even with me writing this and bringing it back up, is saying like, yes, it triggered this insecurity of that you're on the outside, you're an outcast. But now it's like, I'm standing on the outside and I enjoy it, I love it. And then I'm like, wait, there's other people that's out here on the outside, right? There's other people that are different. There's other people that I can still connect to, even though I've been in spaces where I was unable to connect in a certain way. So being misunderstood or fighting to be misunderstood, I found myself always trying to defend myself, always over explaining or not saying anything at all, right? Let me not say something. Oh, somebody's gonna think that thought is weird. Somebody's gonna think that thought doesn't make sense, right? And then realizing that I'm not gonna be able to please everybody, right? Everybody's not gonna understand me, right? I used to give myself this visual that if I'm in a room and I'm speaking to 100 people, right? 50 people is going to be like lost, like what, not going to get it, not going to click. 3 people might be like, yes, that's what I'm saying, right? But the point is, I'm not going to be able to automatically reach everybody and please everybody. But I used to find myself always overthinking and shifting how I think and how I'm supposed to say something, overanalyzing, just so that I was understood. So the pressure of always wanting to do that and then realizing that's not even possible was a way for me to release that, right? Some people are just not going to understand. It's like I was kind of tearing myself apart by saying like, okay, let me say this way. And then I thought about it like, oh, somebody might take that the wrong way. So then I adjusted myself. Then I'm like, well, then somebody else is going to think that. So then I adjusted myself. Well, what about this person that's thinking that? So I adjusted myself. I was driving myself crazy. It was so draining to the point where like, okay, so my camera cut off, but I'm going to try to get back to where I was. So yeah, with misunderstandings, all these things was kind of messing me up and trying to pinpoint specific things. But now I realize that because I know this, because I went to the room, recognized some of these things and released some of those things, I can rearrange how I see and define misunderstandings, right? So it doesn't have to it doesn't have to bring me away from my higher self, right? My higher self is being able to have a voice, to speak how I feel, to be comfortable with myself. But I don't have to allow misunderstandings to be like, Toya, quiet yourself. Toya, dim your light. Toya, be so concerned with everybody else and their opinions of you, right? So I redefined what misunderstandings were to realize that some people are just not going to get it, right? And I have to be comfortable with that. Now, sometimes I'm still like overthinking what I'm about to say, or I'm going too far to overanalyze something, because at the end of the day, it feels good to be understood, right? To say something and people get what you're saying. But the reality of it is that a lot of times people don't get what you're saying. People don't know where you come from. People don't know what you've been through. And you say something and people classify things. And that was my fear of trying to take all these scenarios of something that's happening to make sure that I wasn't misunderstood. It was more work, and now I'm just like, just be, right? Those who get it will get it. Those who don't get it, if they're open to understand, make a space for them to help them understand. But I'm not fighting it anymore, right? I'm really trying hard to just be who I am and flow with it, and just know that sometimes, truthfully, some people just don't get it. Sometimes I don't even get everything, but I'm working through everything. So it's just like, misunderstandings don't have to feel like a heavy weight, right? And these are different things that I try to show up even within my life, you know. So we sometimes say it's just social media, but the way that I am on social media and different things reflects who I am in real life. So sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't want to say that. I don't want to explain that. I'm not ready to do this, that, and the third. Overanalyzing and trying to interpret what you guys are going to understand, right? Oh, I'm not saying that right. Now I'm just like, I'm going to give it my best. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to present myself as my best, to the best of my ability, and show up for myself the best way I know how. And as long as I'm doing that, like, I'm going to try hard to be satisfied with that. The more I interact with people, the more I open up, the more people are coming into this space of mine. There's a lot of people that's just going to completely... You can probably go through some of my videos and take what I say and completely take it a different way, right? And I could be misunderstood. And then I have to chase you and be like, that's not what I meant. I meant this, da, da, da. You know what I'm saying? There's places where I'm doing that, and there's places where I'm not. It is what it is, right? And it's like, it's more important that it's about my peace and me centering myself and me kind of going through this the way that I see what's best for me. So misunderstandings, how do I feel about them? I don't like them, right? They don't always feel the best. They sometimes trigger certain things, but I've been able to reprogram my mind in certain ways of what I'm telling myself and what I'm understanding within myself of how I see misunderstandings. So let me see if there's anything else that I wrote that I wanted to share, because I believe that was pretty much everything. So yeah, at the end of the day, you're going to get it. You're not going to get it. I hope you do. If you don't, I'm still going to show up and be the best that I can be in every part of my life, right? Actually, there was one other thing I wanted to share that I did right. So, misunderstandings, specifically with me showing up for myself, me being who I am, or kind of like, I don't want to say presenting myself, but me just being me, right? How you see that, whether it's in my pictures, in my videos, in my captions, my tweets, or whatever the case may be, is me being me. Expressing is a form of releasing, right? And I find myself doing that a lot through creativity, right? But everything is a form of an expression. And being able to express something is a release for me. So I can't always control or meet the needs of everyone, right? So that's something that I realized. But at the end of the day, it is okay for me to express, because it is okay for me to feel. So that is my write it down response. I hope you were able to get something from this, understand something from this. But if not, I'm always open to make a space where we can kind of build. Building is not so much of me saying do it my way, or me telling what you're doing is wrong. But it's an understanding that we could have, so that you may spark something in me, and hopefully I spark something in you. So that's all that I have. As always, feel free to share this video, share your thoughts in a comment. And let's see, Sunday I'll have a whole new prompt, and we're going to continue the Write It Down series. So don't give up on yourself. Keep pushing through your writing. And if you're having trouble starting, just reach out to me. I'm here for you in any type of way that I can, any capacity that I can. But until next time, my sugar babies, peace and love. You know what you gotta do now. Grab a pen, we about to write it down. You know what you gotta do now. Grab a pen, write it down.